The story will be told from the perspective of the main female character.
I'm Jessica, and I found out that being abandoned looks a lot like the departures curb at Phoenix Airport. The air was thick with desert heat that July day. You might assume the worst part of our so-called celebration family trip was when my sister took my window seat on the plane. That wasn't it. The worst part was watching Mom lean over from the front seat, her sunglasses hiding whatever she was feeling. We just couldn't check the large bag, sweetie. Too much trouble. This works better. My suitcase, everything I owned. She pressed a bus ticket into my hand, one way along with a congratulations card. Inside was $150 cash. Dad just gave a quick nod. He wouldn't meet my eyes. The car started moving. They turned the corner and disappeared. I stood there on the pavement like something they'd meant to throw away but forgot about. I didn't choose where to go. I just got on whatever bus was departing next. It took me to a Phoenix neighborhood I'd only glimpsed from the freeway. My legs felt like they weren't mine. My phone was dead weight in my pocket. The cash felt more like a countdown than actual help. I found a rental listing on a street that reeked of old grease and stale alcohol. The room sat above a dive bar called the Iron Horse. Their neon sign kept flickering like it was having a seizure. The guy who owned the place wore a shirt that had completely given up on life. He didn't want a security deposit, just needed cash for the first week up front. The space was tiny. Something sticky covered the floor. My window faced a brick wall. When night came, the music from below didn't just shake the building. It became part of it. The bass turned into my heartbeat, but it had a door that locked, and that made it a castle. I pulled out a small notebook I used to keep hidden in my school bag. I'm the type who sketches things when words won't come. I wrote "Survival Fund" on an old envelope and put what money I had left inside. It looked pitiful. What I learned was that survival meant keeping to a routine. My alarm screamed at 4 a.m. Job number 1, coffee shop. I figured out how to steam milk perfectly, how to smile at customers who saw right through me, how to say, "Have a wonderful day," like I believed it. I went home smelling like burned beans and artificial vanilla. Second job ran noon to 5, cleaning hotel rooms. I scrubbed away the evidence of strangers' lives, dealt with their dirty showers and slept in sheets. I was basically invisible in a blue uniform. They paid me $12 an hour under the table. Third job started at 10 p.m. and ended at 2 a.m., washing dishes at a bakery. This one was brutal. The air was heavy with sugar, old bread, and harsh cleaning chemicals. I scrubbed baking sheets until my skin cracked. My spine felt like it was breaking. The sound of metal scraping metal wouldn't leave my head. But I watched the night baker, this rough-edged guy named Frank, work with complete concentration. I studied how he shaped the dough, how he cut designs into bread loaves, how his hand stayed totally steady while decorating with icing. He never talked to me. I was just the person cleaning up after him. I'd get back to my room around 2:30 in the morning. The bar would finally be silent, but my head was loud. This type of loneliness doesn't just make you feel alone. It erases you completely. I'd scroll through my old phone contacts. My sister, my mother. I'd type "I'm okay" and delete it. I'd type "Where's my stuff" and delete it. I'd type "Why" and delete that too. I'd stopped crying weeks ago. The anger I expected never showed up. Instead, there was just this frozen, empty feeling inside me. 3 months of this. 3 months of being invisible. I opened my notebook. Instead of writing, I drew. I sketched a 5-layer cake covered in delicate sugar lace that looked like breathing on it would shatter it. I created elaborate flowers made from frosting. I imagined flavor combinations I'd never tried: rosewater with pistachio, cardamom with orange. I designed these impossible, gorgeous things while sitting in a room that smelled like bleach and beer, while fights from the street echoed through my walls. Drawing was the single piece of my existence I controlled. Not much, but more than what I had standing at that airport curb. It was something to build on. Isolation breaks when you meet someone who actually sees you. For me, that was Sierra. We worked mornings together at the coffee shop. Her hair was purple but faded out to this dusty lavender color. She had a jellyfish tattoo on her forearm that somehow looked judgmental. Her sarcasm could slice through the busiest morning rush. I was sketching on some napkins during a slow period, working out details for a 3-tier wedding cake design. She dropped into the seat across from me. "New girl," she said. "You look like the before photo in some witness protection ad." I stared down at my hands, stained dark from coffee grounds. "Jessica," I managed. She grinned. "Sierra, I had dreams once too. Then I figured out caffeine actually pays the bills." She tapped my napkin drawing. "That's a lot of effort for something people wipe their mouths on. You doing all right?" "Just fooling around." "Really?" She leaned closer to examine it. "That's a cake, yeah. Looks way too complex. Probably costs more than what I paid for my car." She snapped a photo with her phone anyway. "My buddy thinks foam art is sophisticated. This'll destroy his mind." I figured that was it, but she kept engaging with me after that. She'd split her lunch and give me half. She'd cover when I showed up 5 minutes behind schedule from the hotel shift. She was the first human being in 3 months who looked at me like I existed. The second person was Frank. He ran the bakery where I washed dishes every night. Big guy with hands like concrete blocks dusted in flour. His voice sounded like he gargled gravel. He never greeted me, just pointed at the mountain of dirty pans and grunted. One night he discovered my notebook. I'd left it on a shelf and it fell open to a drawing of an intricate sugar flower. I froze completely. I expected yelling, expected him to fire me on the spot. Instead, he just stared at the page, didn't speak for close to a minute. Then he looked up at me, actually looked, with eyes that had witnessed too many pre-dawn shifts. "You draw this." I nodded. My throat felt closed. He grunted. "Not terrible, but the structure's wrong. You'd need support rods for that kind of weight." I couldn't respond. He sighed and wiped flour off his hands. "You're solid at dishes, Jessica, quick and quiet. But this," he tapped the notebook, "is wasted paper if you don't understand how to actually work with ingredients." I don't have access to a kitchen or supplies. Frank looked around the empty bakery. The ovens were cooling down. The metal work surfaces gleamed. "I do. This place sits empty from midnight till 4. You're here anyway. Make a mess, you clean it. Break something, you replace it. Use my ingredients, you take the scraps. Understood?" I couldn't find words. An adult had just offered me something without conditions attached. I just nodded. So I added a 4th job, 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. After the dishes were finished, I practiced. I learned using leftovers and scraps, figured out chocolate tempering, how to make buttercream that held its shape, how to handle fondant. My hands, torn up from bleach, developed a different kind of patience. The first time I created a perfect sugar rose, I cried. Silently, so the big mixers wouldn't hear. For Sierra's birthday, I spent a week's tips. Stayed awake for 36 hours straight. I made the cake from that napkin, 3 tiers, blackcurrant and lemon, covered in hand-painted black lace details. When I brought it to the coffee shop, she just froze. "Holy hell." She stared at me. "You actually made this. I thought you were just doodling to kill time." She took a dozen photos and posted them everywhere. Her caption was pure Sierra. "My friend Jessica is an actual baking wizard. Your store-bought cupcakes are garbage. Fight me about it." I didn't think much would happen. It was just a birthday cake. 2 days later, an email appeared in the account I'd created just for job applications. A local event coordinator had written, "Saw the cake on Sierra's social media. Client wants something identical for a small anniversary celebration. Can you deliver by Friday? Budget is $350. $350. That exceeded what I earned scrubbing toilets and washing pans for an entire week. I almost declined. I lived above a bar. I shared appliances with cockroaches. I was all hustle and no infrastructure. Sierra read the email over my shoulder. "Don't be stupid. Say yes. Figure out the details after." So I agreed. I spent 3 nights in Frank's kitchen, powered by stale coffee and pure terror. delivered it in a cab I couldn't actually afford. The event planner handed me $350 in cash. I walked outside into daylight, felt like a promotion. That night I opened my notebook to a clean page, wrote down "Sweet Redemption" at the top. It wasn't a business yet. It was a challenge to myself. Momentum doesn't hit you like lightning. It builds slowly, like rain finding the same path down glass until it carves a groove. Sweet Redemption became my entire existence. I used my savings to rent space in a shared commercial kitchen. No more sneaking around Frank's bakery at night. When I told him, he just grunted. "About time. You were burning through my scraps." It was the kindest thing he'd ever said to me. Orders came in slowly at first, then started piling up. Local birthdays, small corporate events. I was doing the work of 5 people, eating leftover frosting for meals, sleeping in 4-hour chunks. That's when Derek showed up at the kitchen. He came for a tasting, sent by the event coordinator who'd given me my first real job. Tall guy with an easy smile and eyes that actually paid attention. He ran a small food blog called Phoenix Bites. He didn't just taste the samples. He examined them, asked questions about the cardamom I'd used, how I got the buttercream texture so smooth. He looked at my rough sketches with genuine interest I wasn't used to seeing. "You design like an architect," he said, studying one of my drawings. "Most bakers just bake. You're constructing something." I blinked. "I'm just making sure nothing collapses." He smiled. "That too." He ordered a cake for his client, then came back a week later carrying camera equipment. "I'm doing a feature series," he explained, "about people who create things by hand. We film, edit, give you the files, no charge. I just think people need to see how you work." I should have refused. Attention still felt dangerous, like a trap, but his kindness didn't scare me. "Okay," I said. He spent one afternoon filming. Didn't ask me to perform or put on a show. Just captured close shots of my hands piping designs, steam rising from ovens, sketches pinned to my wall. He let the kitchen sounds speak for themselves. He titled it "The Baker Who Works in the Dark" and posted it to his blog. It got shared, then shared again by a national food account with millions of followers. My phone didn't just buzz, it exploded. The vibration felt like the floor was shaking underneath me. My inbox went from 2 emails daily to 200. Orders, questions, praise from strangers in states I'd never visited. Then one email made my stomach twist so hard I thought I'd vomit. Subject line: brand collaboration opportunity. Sender was someone named Nicole. The email was polished and corporate. "Love your aesthetic, Jessica. Your story is incredibly authentic. We'd love to discuss a brand partnership." I didn't recognize the name, almost deleted it, but I scrolled to the signature. Nicole, PR manager, Thompson, my mother's last name. My mother's firm. My blood went cold. I reread every word, clicked the link. There she was, smiling in a photo on my mother's corporate website. Our newest edition. I sat there on a flour sack, the industrial refrigerator humming, and everything suddenly made sense. Attached was a glossy PDF, an invitation. Family and Friends Charity Gala hosted by my mother's firm. On the event committee list, my sister's name. They hadn't contacted me in 3 years. Not one text, not one call. I'd been in the same city, scrubbing toilets in their hotels, serving coffee at their shops. I was invisible. But now some stranger with a camera had told them I was worth something. I finally understood. In a family like mine, you're not a person. You're a reflection, a resource. When I stood at that airport curb with no suitcase, I was bad supply. A failure, a secret, something to hide. But now that a food blog and thousands of strangers approved of me, I was good supply. A success story they could claim they discovered. Something they could use. My mother hadn't found me. My sister didn't miss me. They'd been alerted to a new asset. This email wasn't an apology. It was an acquisition. They weren't inviting me home. They were inviting me to be a talking point at their event. I didn't respond right away. The invitation sat on my kitchen counter for a week, a glossy piece of paper that felt heavier than all my baking equipment combined. "You going?" Sierra asked, leaning against the steel table, stealing a piece of candied lemon peel. "Haven't decided." She snorted. "Liar, you're trying to figure out how you're going. You showing up humble and quiet and grateful, like the lost little girl they found." "Maybe." "Or," Sierra said, "you show up as who you actually are now, the person who made it without them." Derek told me something similar when I mentioned it. "You get to control your own story," he said, "not come back as the girl they left behind." So that's how I planned it. Not like some ghost returning to haunt them, like someone writing her own story. I booked a sleek black Mercedes, the kind of power that doesn't announce itself. My hands shook while I made the reservation, not from fear, from the old habit of expecting judgment. I wore a simple black dress. Not a gown, nothing flashy, just me. I wasn't running from anything. I was driving toward it. The moment I walked into the gala, I knew this was my stage. My family, mom, dad, and my sister, didn't recognize me at first. Then my sister's smile froze mid-expression. The silence tasted delicious. I walked straight past them to the bar. When Mom finally approached, all manufactured pride and clicking heels, I saw my opening. "Hello, Mom," I said. My voice stayed level. "Funny how you didn't find me until a food blogger did." My sister, the golden child, hissed something about me causing a scene. I gave her the only truth she'd understand. "I remember Charity. It used to look like $150 and a one-way bus ticket." Complete silence. Then the PR manager, Nicole, swept in, seeing my struggle as nothing but a narrative she could profit from. I set my glass down. "My work isn't available for your brand," I said clearly, "and my story isn't for sale." I turned to leave. Mom grabbed my arm, asked why I bothered coming if I only planned to ruin their night. I looked at her until she released me. "I just came to make sure I wasn't the one who disappeared." Walking out, the solid, expensive sound of the car door shutting cut off their noise completely. I deleted Nicole's email that night. I realized survival isn't an act of hatred. It's the courage to prune your own family tree. I didn't drive home. I drove to my commercial kitchen. Sweet redemption. Sierra and Derek were already there with tacos and cheap beer. My found family. I belonged here, in the smell of yeast and chocolate. I smiled, tied on my apron, and got back to work. Years later, running my own successful shop, I write a new list of goals. It's not about revenge. It's about living. This is my message to you, the black sheep. Your blood isn't a cage. Your found family is the real prize. Don't shrink yourself to fit their tiny, suffocating table. Go build a bigger one.